Hello everybody, today we're gonna talk about a versus matchup between two of the most alpha characters in fiction. Yujiro Hanma from the Baki series versus Guts from Berserk. If you've watched the shows, read the mangas, or even seen the TikTok edits, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They are both super strong, badass, hyper-masculine characters who are full of edge, and because of that, eventually comparisons between the two regarding their strength or who would win in a fight would come up. I've seen this topic being debated all over the internet. From Reddit to versus battle forums, people just cannot get into an agreement of who would win. So that's what I'm here for. In my first video ever on YouTube, I'm going to go over who, in my opinion, would come out victorious in this battle. Now, before I start, I'd like to make something very clear from the get-go. I am a firm believer on the idea that you cannot objectively 100% determine who would be the winner in a fictional versus battle, especially when it's about two characters from different universes. After all, manga, movies, video games, they are all art, and art is subjective. The way I interpret a scene might be completely different from the way you interpreted the same scene. So instead of a critical analysis, this video is more of a thought experiment. And you guys are more than welcome to comment down below your own interpretations, why you disagree with me, why you agree with me, and I might make a second video addressing your guys' comments. Instead of doing the classical death battle format of video, where I introduce both characters and analyze them, and then decide the winner, I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I'm gonna announce who is the winner first, and then I'll explain my reasoning for it later. Before I announce the winner, I need to explain a few criteria I used while powerscaling Yujiro. First, I did not use the quote-unquote earthquake feat for a few simple reasons. One, it would be a complete outlier when compared to the rest of the feats Yujiro has shown up until now. And two, it would be a complete stomp in Yujiro's favor, so there wouldn't even be a match. Those two reasons are pretty much the exact same reasons why I also did not consider the quotes and statements about Yujiro being as strong or as powerful as nuclear weapons. It would be a complete outlier and it wouldn't make a fair fight. Another rule that I use for powerscaling Yujiro is that since he's the strongest character in the whole series, every single feat from any other character should be below him. Pickle's brute force and Namino Sukune's grip strength might be exceptions to this rule, but I'll address it if it becomes relevant. With all that being said, here's my verdict for Yujiro versus Guts. Keep in mind that this is Yujiro without his demon back and Guts without his berserker armor. It is very, very unlikely that Guts could take down Yujiro. Now let's go a little bit in depth into the analysis. One of the main rules of the Baki universe is that guns are completely useless against quote-unquote real fighters. That is a huge part of this world's lore. I've seen people argue that, oh, if the people actually shot the guns instead of just shaking in fear, they would be more effective. Which, honestly, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because there were instances where a gun was shot at the member of the cast, but when that happened, either A, it didn't have any effect on them, or B, they simply dodged it. The main example for the latter was during the Arizona prison arc, where Baki dodged several gunshots while escaping. There are two ways I could go with this scene. One, Baki reacted to and dodged the bullets after they were shot, which would make him supersonic casually without his demon back, or two, Baki aim dodged the guards. Now, which one's more likely? Well, if you're using solely the anime version as reference, it's number one. The way they animated it explicitly shows Baki dodging after the guns are shot. However, for the sake of consistency and to not make this a stomp, and yes, prison arc Baki without the demon back being casually supersonic would make this a stomp for Yujiro, as we'll discuss later. We'll go for interpretation number 2, aim dodging, although I have a few problems with that. Baki dodged most of the bullets without even looking where they were coming from. When you aim dodge, you at least have to know where the shooter is aiming so you can move out of the line of fire, but that is not the case here. Baki just styled his way like no one's business. To quote Jason Todd,
Wait. Dodge the bullet? From behind?
Yeah,
Come on, we've dodged bullets before.
Yeah, from the front. And it wasn't really dodging them. We were using misdirection and erratic movements to, fuck it.
Another issue with the whole aim dodging thing is this scene. You see those three guards? They are just a few feet away from Baki, with clear sight on him and ready to shoot. But Baki basically just teleports out of the way and knocks all of three out. There's no misdirection here or erratic movement. He's just there, and then he's not. And if you think this is the only example, it is not. In the very first episode of the new Grappler Baki series, we see Doyle avoiding a bullet while blindfolded, and we also have many narrative examples to how the fighters are above weapons. From Yujiro rivaling whole armies with his bare hands, Guevara doing a revolution in his island using only martial arts, everything makes Itagaki's intentions really clear. Now you might be asking yourself, why am I spending this much time on this topic? Well, it's because all of this means that, at best, Baki characters are casually supersonic, and at the very, very worst, they have an absolutely insane capability of reading their opponent's intentions, sometimes while not even being able to see, and reacting before they can get hurt. And because of that, 3 out of 4 items in Guts' arsenal are useless against Yujiro. His crossbow, his daggers, and his cannon. We'll bring back the cannon later though. But basically, all of his projectiles will be of no use against the ogre. Now that I have already talked about the projectiles, let's move on to the dragon slayer. Whoa, wait a second. You thought I forgot about it, didn't you? You thought I wouldn't mention the scene. You know, that one scene that supposedly disproves everything I've said so far about Yujiro's reaction speed. You must be thinking, how can he claim all of that when Yujiro got taken out by a few darts and nets? This is the main argument that people use to claim that Baki characters are actually fodder. Well, here are my thoughts on these quote-unquote anti-feat. First, from a writing perspective, then from an in-universe explanation. First, this is a perfect example of plot-induced stupidity. For those who don't know what that is, here's a definition from the Versus Battle Wiki. Plot-induced stupidity, or PIS for short, is a term used to refer to events in a story that contradict a character's normal capabilities for the purpose of the plot. Now, Yujiro is a man who forces entire nations to make peace treaties with him, because they cannot defeat him with their armies. He is stronger than whole battalions of men and has fought many wars against people with assault rifles and machine guns. How the fuck can he get taken down by darts and a weighted net? That event alone contradicts his entire character in everything that has been established about him. And second, that Yujiro is much, much weaker than the current Yujiro. Even though he's the strongest creature on Earth, he's still getting stronger. And we have evidence for that. In the first Grappler Baki series, he was relative to Doppo, so much so that at one point Yujiro stated that if Doppo's punch was just a few centimeters deeper, it would have killed him. And now Yujiro is relative to Musashi, the same guy who neg-diffed Doppo. So it's not fair to judge his current strength based on a time period when he was much, much weaker. And by the way, saying that Yujiro's reaction speed is less than a dart only because of this scene is like me saying that Guts cannot even react to arrows because of this scene. Keep in mind that he was on guard and aware of his shooters, unlike Yujiro. Now let's go over Guts' main weapon, the Dragon Slayer. This thick, heavy, hunk piece of iron was shotgunning everything from waves of armored soldiers to destroying stone pillars to ripping through apostle flesh. I really doubt that Yujiro could just tank a strike from it. So attack potency shouldn't be a matter of discussion here, since I believe that if Guts managed to hit Yujiro even once, it would be pretty much game over for the ogre. Right? I'll get to that later. But the question is, could Guts actually hit Yujiro in the first place? Well, the two best battle speed feats for Guts are during the Golden Age arc, in his fight against Boscone, and during the Black Swordsman arc, in his fight against the Count's pseudo-apostle. Both of those instances show Guts swinging his sword faster than the eye can see. But we see a clear progression here, where with Boscone, Guts is doing it with very high difficulty, while with the pseudo-apostle, he's doing it in a pretty casual way, showing how much faster, stronger, and skilled he has become. And I'd like to pause for a bit and make an addendum. I know that the term faster than I is a bit controversial in versus battles, since, well, it doesn't tell us much. And being faster than I includes a multitude of different speeds for different distances and body sizes. But I don't agree with the idea that it's completely useless in determining the speed of a character if we don't have much else to go by. Some people interpret it as supersonic or hypersonic, but I'll just interpret it as its narrative purpose, its own thing. Faster than the eye. If it's moving faster than the eye can see, that's his speed. What's the number for that? I don't know. I just know that spectators of the fight cannot follow it with their eyes. Now, having said all of that, is Guts' speed enough to tag Yujiro with his sword? Most likely not. Moving so fast that it makes you look like a teleporter is something that Baki characters do with extreme ease. 13-year-old Baki could do it, and this is not even the Baki who fought Hanayama or the Asha Ape. This is pre-endorphin Baki, which means that he got much faster than that, and since Yujiro is even faster, yeah, being faster than the eye is definitely not enough to tag Yujiro. And, well, let's say that Guts somehow manages to hit Yujiro, he still has Shaori, which can be used to avoid bladed weapons. And even though Musashi managed to overcome it, he had to land 2 strikes before actually understanding how to defeat Hiretsu's Shaori, which is something Yujiro definitely wouldn't let Guts do. Alright, so this is an editor's note. While I was editing this video, I remembered that if Yujiro actually needed to, he could also use Aiki as a last resort to deflect Guts' strikes, and given that the Dragon Slayer is a massive sword, I don't think it's very hard for him to just place his hand on the sword and just use Aiki and Guts simply couldn't hit him. Or maybe Yujiro could even use Aiki to use the power of his Dragon Slayer swing and knock Guts back and throw him around as a counter attack. So yeah, there's also that. And with every swing that Guts misses, Yujiro will get closer and closer until he's in range to strike. From that point, there's literally dozens of ways Yujiro could just one-shot Guts, from regular strikes to countless techniques. And when I say one-shot, I really mean it. Just a quick reminder that this is what Yujiro's punches are capable of. And this is Yujiro just casually flexing on Kakukayo. Now, Guts can take a lot of blunt force spread around his body. We've seen him get smacked against stone pillars, walls, trees, etc. But this is different. It would be the same amount of destruction capability as an apostle blow, perhaps even more, but with the contact surface of a punch, directed towards his head. Yujiro could also use one of countless techniques to just knock him out and then finish him off. In conclusion, even after being very generous with Guts and giving him some ways to defeat Yujiro, it's still a huge if they would work, as with Yujiro taking Guts out is more concrete. Now let's move over to the second part of the video, which will be much quicker. Guts with the Berserker armor versus Yujiro with the Demon Back. Now, do these conditions change the overall result? Quick answer, no? Kinda? Well, it all depends if you think that Guts being fully consumed by the Berserker armor before he can kill Yujiro is a lost condition for Guts. If you think that, well, then Yujiro still wins this round. Because even though his attack potency gets a huge boost, his agility is much greater and now he can do all sorts of crazy acrobatics, we still have no evidence that he's fast enough to hit Yujiro, especially now with the Demon Back, which makes Yujiro definitely supersonic now. A lot of people like to bring up the panel where Guts quote-unquote dodged lightning while fighting Ganishka's avatar. Here's why I'm not taking that into consideration. Number 1. This would be a massive outlier for Guts. Remember when I said before that Prison Arc Baki being supersonic without the Demon Back would make this a stomp for Yujiro? The reason for that is because in the Lost Children arc, during Guts' fight against Rosine, Guts states that he couldn't see or react to Rosine's supersonic attacks, and it was only after she slowed down that he managed to catch her spear, which means that the Berserker armor would have gave him a boost from subsonic speed to massively hypersonic. If that were true, the moment Guts puts the armor for the first time against Grumbelt, he could have slashed through Zod, Grumbelt, and every single other apostle in the place before they could even blink. it's much more likely that the lightning scene was aim dodging. Guts and Serpico are watching Ganesha charge up the lightning bolt, so they knew it was coming. And in a later panel, Daiba even says that it's useless for them to run since no one can dodge lightning. If Guts had actually dodged it, he would have probably said something like, "How is that possible? No one should be able to dodge lightning," you know? Kinda like what Piccolo said against Raditz when he dodged the Macaco Sapo. Number 2, if I were to consider this feat, then it would only be fair to also consider the 0.000 feat from Musashi, which puts him at hypersonic speed as well. And since Baki defeated his technique and Yujiro is faster than Baki, you get the idea. Now, we don't know how fast the Berserk armor can repair itself, so Yujiro might be just hitting Guts around until he realizes that no matter how much he hits Guts, the armor just won't let him go down. I don't think Yujiro forcefully removing the armor would work, since it can morph into the user while repairing the damage. So, in the end, it would just be Yujiro simply avoiding Guts, while Guts pushes his body more and more up to its limit, while the armor repairs his body more and more until he gets fully consumed by the armor, granting Yujiro the victory in this round as well. So yeah, this is the ending of my thought experiment. Again, if you disagree with anything that I've said, please write it down in the comments, and I'll probably address it in a later video. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. This took me a lot more time than I thought it would. I'm pretty new to editing and recording and stuff. So if you enjoyed it, please leave a like. And also consider subscribing. I'm gonna make a lot more videos in the future. And if you'd like to join me in this ride, I'll gladly accept it. So yeah, that's about it. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.